there's things that we can be doing to make sure that people have got that time to themselves to do the things that are important to them.
You're listening to the Care Podcast, brought to you by Unique Senior Care. We're here to share open, honest and practical conversations to help you better navigate the care journey, whatever stage you're at. In today's episode, we welcome Sophie Ledbrooke, our Head of Live-in Care at Unique Senior Care. Sophie has a wealth of experience in the care industry, having started as a carer herself and over 20 years progressed through different manager roles and is now the head of our live-in service. So in this episode, we're going to think a little bit about a really common worry with live-in care. What we find is that people are often quite overwhelmed or concerned about the thought that someone is coming into their home to live there. What kind of things specifically tend to come up?
It's actually a really frequently asked question, especially from people that are inquiring about having live-in care, because I think you were able to put yourself in their shoes. And if you haven't had live-in care experience before, or you've never had live-in care, having someone move into your home and become part of your furniture can be quite a scary thought. I think it's really important to consider what the boundaries are in that household and what is important for the person to have full control of, even though there's someone living in their home, because I think that really helps break down any barriers straight away from the starting point. And that's something that we always try and address at assessment, is what is the most important thing to you to feel like you've got control of your home if someone's coming to live in it. Yeah.
And because we're talking about live-in care, in case anyone isn't exactly sure what we mean by that, can you explain how that works? What's the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So when someone's care needs are at a level that they no longer sort of require sort of visiting care, because there's periods between that visiting care that they feel unsafe, or the support that they need is more, live-in care is an option. So instead of going into a residential setting or a nursing setting, you're getting that round-the-clock care, but in your own home. So a caregiver, depending on your level of need, will move into your home. They will sleep there at night, and the daytime support that is required will be delivered by that live-in caregiver that's there for the client.
Okay. And what about how that works longer term? Does one person stay the whole time, or is there someone who comes and swaps in?
So all depends really on the client's preference. Some people don't want people swapping out regularly because they build a relationship with that person. So it does go down to what the client's looking for, really. So we have lots of different variations. So we have caregivers that will go in for 2 weeks and come out for 2 weeks and then go back. And they'll have 2 carers that rotate with each other. That can be on a 2-week basis, a 3-week basis, a 4-week basis. Or we do have carers that will stay long term in the household and come out for breaks, and another carer will go in to cover those breaks. So yeah, it really just depends on what the client wants.
So there's lots of options rather than it has to be done this way.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it depends on the level of need. Like, we've had families that say, like, we don't think it would be good for the caregiver to stay more than 2 weeks at a time, because we don't want the caregivers to feel burnt out. And then we know that mum and dad are having that refreshing care on a fortnightly basis. Some people, because they've been dead set about having care in the first place, it wouldn't be very nice for the client to send multiple people in on sort of a rotational basis. So they've had carers that will stay long term with them and just come out for regular holidays, maybe every 6 to 8 weeks. So
Okay.
yeah.
And whatever way you do it, there is still somebody, one person or a couple of people rotating, living in your own home. So you mentioned boundaries. What kind of things might be put in place?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things that we recognise is, especially if it's a couple that we're caring for where there's a husband or wife living in the property that is not requiring any care, we find that they feel like we're stepping on their toes by being in the household, by just trying to generally help, such as housework, washing up, but actually that the person's very capable of doing it themselves. So where we know that there's another loved person living in the house, such as a husband or wife, we'll always include them in the assessment and try and understand what do they want to keep control of in that house, so that they still feel like they are in control of their household. If it's a client that is living on their own, again, we still try and understand the dynamics of the house, who visits, how often. Do they want the carer to sort of do a bit of a disappearing act when daughters and sons come and visit? Because you wouldn't normally have someone sat next to you when your son or daughter visits. So it's really understanding those dynamics as well, so that they still feel that they've got their home to themselves when it's important.
Yeah, and everyone's so different. So I imagine for every client, there's something that is unique to them that we need to adapt around and make sure it fits with their lifestyle.
Absolutely, like especially ones with pets, dog walking, they still want to walk the dog on their own because that's some sort of well-being time that they have for themselves. And as long as we risk assess that appropriately and make sure that they're safe doing that, well, we don't want to start taking those things away.
So I wonder, do people ever worry that if they have a living carer that that person's going to be like their shadow? They turn around and, you know, they're there every moment following them, keeping an eye on them.
I think it would be a natural worry to have that, especially if you haven't had living care before. You are going to think this person is just going to be next to you all the time. But I think it's important to remember that no one can work 24 hours a day. So, I mean, the average daily hours of a living carer is about 10 hours a day. So obviously they have their break time. But if you're watching the telly, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to watch the telly with someone, and we're very aware of that. Now, you may want to. It might be a quiz show. You might want to have some companionship there, a bit of stimulation, some discussion. But at the same time, you might want to sit quietly with your cup of coffee listening to the Archers, and you don't need someone to be sat with you. So I think we're very appreciative of downtime, and as long as we are making sure that we're spending that time, with companionship, there are other things that we can be doing in the household whilst people are doing the things that they want to do. It may be reading a book, for example, or we could be preparing the dinner. So there's things that we can be doing to make sure that people have got that time to themselves to do the things that are important to them.
Great. So again, it's very much down to that person. If they want a bit of peace and quiet, they can have that. If they want somebody with them to chat along to the news with or read the newspaper with, they can equally choose that as well.
Absolutely. I think it all comes down to the care planning that we do. So obviously every care plan we do is person-centred. It's individual to the person. And we clearly try and demonstrate in that care plan for our caregivers what the level of need is in each area of daily living. And if that is with companionship, that actually that person does like to watch the news on their own, but they like to play Scrabble with somebody, we would make sure that that's what the care plan reads, so that the carer can follow that, so that we're achieving the client's outcomes.
Yeah, brilliant. And what would be your one takeaway in terms of how we create those boundaries and make someone feel comfortable in their own home?
I think from a client's perspective is ensuring that we understand what that looks like from the start as part of the assessment process. And at the same time, if care has started and things are developing, that there's uncertainties or some uncomfortable feelings, that those are addressed with us straight away so that we can rectify them and have an understanding of what that boundary looks like.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everyone for listening. We hope that this episode has helped you to feel more confident and informed around the options for living care. I've been your host, Jo Cleary, from the Care Podcast. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode.